Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Gonna read through the full article here. There's a link in the description. I will note that I'm a couple days late to this article. It's quite possible that you've seen the details of this article or this situation previously. If that's the case, no need to listen to this. I've got no further info to provide. It will be of interest to those that haven't come across this situation already. It's pretty controversial. Essentially, it involves an extremely light sentence for somebody who killed a man. I suppose there is an argument that there were extenuating circumstances, that the death of the man was not intentional. So, it's not without reason that the culprit, the person that caused the death of another, it's not without reason that they have been given a very light sentence. But certainly it's a controversial subject. So let's have a look at the details. A Dunkin employee in Tampa, Florida, has been accused of fatally punching a customer who used a racial slur against him last year, and he's been sentenced to 2 years of house arrest after pleading guilty to felony battery. So, 2 years of house arrest. Corey Pujols, 27 years of age, so this guy, was ordered by a Tampa judge on Monday to complete 200 hours of community service and attend an anger management course. Tampa police said the incident occurred around 1:30 p.m. May the 4th at the Dunkin location at 50th Street. According to court records, the customer, Vernell Cook, 77 years of age. 77, here we go. That's the victim, Vernell Cook. The customer, I'm a little bit surprised as to why the New York Times has described Vernell as being the customer. Yes, he was a customer, but he was a victim as well. I would have thought victim would be the more appropriate descriptor. But anyhow, the customer, Vernell Cook, 77 years of age, who was white, had gone through the drive-thru to order coffee and was angry over the lack of service. While in the drive-thru, Dunkin employees had trouble hearing him, and he started to yell at them about poor service. Employees told Vernell Cook, the customer, who was a regular at the establishment, to leave. They told him to leave. But he parked his car, walked inside, and was aggressive and verbally abusive towards employees. This guy, Corey Pujols, asked a co-worker to call the police, which led to an argument between him and the customer, the victim, Vernell Cook. When Corey Pujols, who was black, asked Cook to leave, police said Vernell Cook called Corey Pujols a racial slur. Corey Pujols then walked around the counter and asked Cook not to call him that slur again. But when Cook did, Pujols punched him in the jaw. The 77-year-old man fell and hit his head on the floor. He was taken to the hospital where he died 3 days later. An autopsy showed that he suffered a skull fracture and brain contusions. I'm just going to interject at this point. I'm probably going to say something which you're fully aware of. I'm probably going to be extremely patronizing at this point. But, if you punch someone, here's what I'm going to say, right? If you're a young, virile male with, a certain level of strength about you as a man, not all men have strength, but a lot do. He seems like a young, reasonably athletic, reasonably physically fit guy. He'd have a bit of a punch, I would imagine. And if you punch an older guy who's lost his strength, He may have been strong at some point in his life, but he's lost it at the age of 77. I follow boxing. They talk about fighters approaching the age of 40 having, lost their powers. One of their abilities, one of their powers, is punch resistance. People don't have punch resistance at a certain age. This 77-year-old would not have had any punch resistance. He's not capable of taking a punch. So if a guy that has some physical strength about them punches a 77-year-old, they're going to fall down. They're going to fall down. It's just like, there's no two questions about it. It's just going to happen. And in addition to that, if someone's going to fall down on a hard surface, namely concrete, or, in most fast food restaurants, I would say you've got a tiled floor, which is perhaps ceramic tile, whatever material the tile is made out of, but it's going to be directly on top of concrete. You don't have soft cushioned floors in commercial environments generally, but certainly not in takeaway restaurants. So, look, this guy, he punched a 77-year-old who would not have the physical ability to resist a punch. He's falling down was inevitable. Hitting his head is inevitable. And that's what I would say. I'm not a doctor, but the skull fracture, the brain contusions, I would say, it's perhaps kind of academic, but not really. It's important to be knowledgeable, cognizant of this type of thing. It would have been caused by the fucking floor, the concrete, the tiles, more than the punch. It wouldn't have been, it's not that this guy's punch broke through his skull or anything. It would be the fall. And the fall was inevitable. And this guy, Corey Pujols, was an idiot. He was an idiot. He ought to have known that if he were to punch a 77-year-old, that they would fall. And he ought to have known that if you hit your head on a hard surface, that there's a chance, I don't know what the percentage would be, but there is the chance of severe injury and or death. He should not have punched him. For those reasons. For those reasons, he shouldn't have punched him. Even if this guy, Vanell Cook, had done more than, say, a racial slur twice. Even if he had done more than that, Corey Pujols should not have punched him unless it was in an act of self-defense. It's not appropriate to claim self-defense. Oh no, this person was saying nasty, mean words at me. I had to defend myself with violence. No, that's not an appropriate nor convincing argument. So I've just waffled there for a few minutes, but we'll go back to the article. Corey Pujols had initially been charged with aggravated manslaughter following the incident. Prosecutors accepted a plea deal from Corey Pujols, who agreed to plead guilty to the lesser charge of felony battery. A spokesman for Hillsborough State Attorney Andrew Warren said that prosecutors in their decision considered the totality of the circumstances, which included Corey Pujols' lack of criminal history, his youth, and the fact that he did not intend to cause Cook's death. Here's a quote. Two of the primary factors were the aggressive approach to the victim. Two of the primary factors were the aggressive approach the victim took toward the defendant and everyone working with the defendant, and that the victim repeatedly used possibly the most aggressive and offensive term in the English language. Okay, so I'm not happy with that. I'll tell you why I'm not happy with that. First of all, before I tell you why I'm not happy with that, I will say, based on the description here, which frankly I suspect is biased, this article is written really in defense of Corey Pujols. And so that's the angle, that's the agenda where this article writer is coming from. Bias is inevitable. So it's because bias is inevitable, it's reasonable to some extent, but certainly certainly it's something I disagree with in this case. I think it's reasonable to say that Corey Pajoles just went to work to mind his own fucking business. He didn't ask for this incident. This incident was presented to him. Corey Pajoles, according to this article here, did try to handle this situation, de-escalate the situation, in what I would consider the right way, a professional way, initially. You know, he tried to call police. Seemed like he was handling the situation as best he could. Vanell Cook, absolutely, without question, was acting, pardon my French, like a complete arsehole, and was continuing to do so. He was refusing to cooperate. He was refusing to be respectful. He was refusing to be reasonable. He was just being more and more aggressive. However, he was not being violent, seemingly. He was not being violent. And even if he were being violent, he's not really in a position as a 77-year-old to present too much violence, really, is he? But he wasn't being violent. Those are the key points. So I think it is fair to recognise that Corey Pajoles did not ask for this situation. He was being a good member of society by going to work and performing a job. You know, he did not instigate, and he tried to rectify the situation. Those actions there ought to be taken into account when it comes to sentencing. I fully agree with that. However, Corey Pajoles ultimately did make the mistake of punching this guy in the face, which led to his death. And it's not enough to refer to the word that was used as being the most aggressive and offensive term in the English language. So what? It's still only a word, you fucking weirdo. It's a word. I'm sickened by this subject, to be honest. I've seen other situations. I've got in my mind, I've got an image of a video that I saw where in a train station, could have been New York, somewhere in America, a guy who was very short. He could have been, you know, a little person. He was very short, and he was being a complete arsehole. He was shouting at least one black person, and he was calling them apparently the most aggressive and offensive term in the English language. And the black person responded and the black person was a big burly man. He responded by kicking this little person. He was certainly a short person, in the back. Kicked him in the back, really at the base of the spine, or close to the base of the spine. And this little guy, I mean, you could just see he like nearly just folded in two. You would know in an instant that this guy was severely injured by that kick. Why did the black guy kick the little white guy? Well, because the little white guy was being mean and using a nasty word. Guys, that does not justify the violence. It just does not justify the violence. It does not. If someone's being mean to you and using nasty words, just, I don't know what, just like walk away, ignore it, let them make a fool of themselves, let them show themselves to be the arsehole that they are. Whatever. Yeah? Who doesn't get nasty names shouted at them in real life or online? A lot of us do. I have. Many times. For various different reasons. You probably have. If you haven't, probably a family member or a friend has. You know? Is it good to be shouted at? To be insulted? Called this? Called that? No, it's not good. It's bad. But, you know, it's part of life. That's what happens. Is that going to end? No, it's not going to end. It's not going to end. Human beings are going to carry on being mean when they want. And they will revert to what is considered to be possibly the most aggressive and offensive term in the English language. And they will do so for reasons. you know, because when people want to hurt someone, they use what they can that they feel will best allow them to hurt someone. So what do you do about it? You just act like a fucking adult. Yeah, you just ignore it, downplay it. You know, we have to do that in so many aspects of our lives. So this, I'm going to kind of summarize here. This guy here, Corey Pajoles, made the mistake of allowing himself to justify violence towards a 77-year-old man who was not in a position to be able to cope with that violence. He allowed himself to justify it. Oh, you called me a nasty word, a very nasty word, thereby I'm going to inflict violence upon you. And if you suffer severe injury or death because of it, then so be it. Thankfully for this guy, thankfully for Corey Pajoles, and I'm being facetious here, thankfully for him, the justice system has his back. The justice system are more concerned about nasty words than violent acts. You know, that's a takeaway here. That's one takeaway here. My takeaway is that the judicial system and the media, the New York Post, is more concerned about nasty words than they are death-inducing violence. They are fucking weird, man. They are fucking weird. They are sick in the head. They're sick in the head. Here's my stance, right? Vanel, you were an asshole. You were a dickhead. You were irresponsible. You were disrespectful. You were being rude and mean, very rude, very mean to these guys that were just going to work and trying to get on with their life, minding their own business. You were acting like an entitled child throwing a tantrum. It was extremely unpleasant what you exposed all of these employees to. You're an asshole, mate. Corey, you're a fucking idiot. You don't get to punch people just because they say nasty words. You're a fool. You've bought into the line that you've been sold. You've been sold that it is okay to do that. It is okay to resort to violence when people call you a certain word. Yeah, you've been told that by the media, by movies, by rap music, perhaps, by the Black Lives Matter movement, perhaps. You've been told this time and time again by the media, by the left, the political left. And you've bought that lie. You've bought into that lie. It's a lie, mate. It's a lie. Your violence does not justify... Sorry, hang on. Someone saying some nasty words to you does not justify violence upon them. You fucked up. You made a mistake. And you're extremely lucky that you live in an area that is just going to give you a pass. You've been given a pass. A disgusting pass. You've got 2 years of house arrest after killing somebody. You killed that guy, mate. At some point, maybe you have already, but at some point you're going to realize that you killed that guy for no good reason. Accidentally, sure. Unintentionally, sure. You didn't intend to, but you didn't intend to kill him, but you did. And you threw the punch. You were violent towards him. You chose to be violent. That's the mistake that you made. You chose to be violent. Now, if he had attacked you with a knife, you'd have every right to choose to be violent. Yeah, if you were acting in self-defense, you'd have every right to choose to be violent. But that wasn't the case. He was saying words, that's all. And you reacted like the way that you've been told you're allowed to react. And that's the part which has got to stop. There's got to be objections to this reaction. There really has to be. You know, there really ought to be a big hoo-ha about this subject. Maybe there is. 2 years of house arrest and 200 hours of community service having to attend an anger management course. Not enough, mate. You deserve jail. You don't deserve the longest jail sentence ever, but you do deserve jail, whatever that happens to be. I'd probably be relatively happy if it were 2 years in jail. I'd think perhaps 5 years, 7 years, maybe 10 years would be justified. I wouldn't be too angry with a lesser amount, but you deserve jail time. At least 2-3 years. Anyway, I've gone on for 20 minutes. My videos normally only last a few minutes, so I've gone on a bit of a tangent here, there, maybe a few times. So I'll wrap things up at this point. If you do like this video, if you feel any value, do like, comment, subscribe, comment, please comment. Also, you might like my other channel, CIS Male. I'll put a link somewhere, or on the home page of this channel, you'll see a link to CIS Male. It discusses political subjects. So I'll wrap things up here, and thank you for your time.